I like that description, Osama. Double-edged. I'll have to remember that one. No, I think it's actually pretty apt to say that. And like you were saying, ICRIER is different from all the rest of the speakers that have spoken before. I think NASCOM Foundation is as well. So I thought I would start a little bit speaking specifically to the objectives of this conversation, which was really to talk about collaboration and partnership. And the reason being really, and I'm glad this flip chart is still up here, because it gets to why it is that we care about the collaboration and partnerships. And I think the fact is that in the social sector, possibly one of the reasons that many of our challenges still exist is because we have a big challenge with collaboration and partnership and doing it well. There are a lot of institutions that work together or say that they're partnering, and we love using that term. Especially nowadays, we'd rather use that than say that it's a funder. But I think there's still a long way to go to create some real win-win situations. And I think one of the reasons for that is that we're not necessarily going into these partnerships really thinking about the important factors in that partnership. And I'm going to say very honestly, I think at NASCOM Foundation, we're still struggling with that. We play this unique role of being a platform builder, complementing the work of NASCOM, which is a 30-year-old institution and has done tremendous work for the country and the industry. So understanding what is the USP, what is the expertise, what are the roles within those partnerships. So I thought I'd start with saying I think the big question is, how is the development sector able to take the best from markets and the way that markets operate? How do we get to a point where the best in quality rises to the top, which is ideally what we see in markets, and scales, particularly gets invented through innovation and scales through innovation? I think we live in a very exciting time, too. I just recently heard on the radio that I happen to be one who listens to the radio. That radio happens to be in the U.S., but that's another story. But I heard that we've only now been able to hear an 1885 voice recording of Alexander Graham Bell, the founder of the technology, really, that we're talking about, the telephone. So I think we're at a very unique point in time, and in many ways, I think the NASCOM Foundation and a lot of the folks that are in the room, and even those that have left the room, are really important as part of that collaboration. So the couple of other points I wanted to make, I did ask the question to the industry folks that were here earlier. We as the nonprofit sector need to start seeing the CSR opportunity as not simply about money. And I think we heard that from the answer that we got from all of the companies, Qualcomm, Nokia, Facebook, and Vodafone. They're doing the philanthropy and the good activities that they're doing, for sure. But the stuff that they really got excited about, the stuff that they're seeing going to scale, they were the social businesses. They were the activities that have both a business impact and a social impact. And I think that's an important distinction. And I think particularly when we hear about the company's bill, which is still yet to be passed, but I think anyone that I've spoken to, whether they're a consultant or they're an NGO or others, anyone that's heard about this, all I see in their eyes are these little dollar signs, because that's all they can really focus on. I mean, that's what media has focused on, 2%, 2%, 2%. But really, it's grabbing that opportunity. It's grabbing that partnership. Don't make me laugh. So I wanted to start with that. All right, and the second point I wanted to make is more specifically about the NASCOM Foundation and what role, if any, that are in the audience are thinking about collaborations. We are platform, as I said, and that's such a vague term, but our motto, similar to DEF, is technology for good. And we're really operating in the full spectrum of what we call business responsibility and CSR. So starting all the way from philanthropy, getting software donations and hardware donations to NGOs that deserve it, all the way up to looking at social businesses and looking at where all of these collaborations can happen. So I thought I would just give one example, and I'm sorry it's not a mobile example. I would say at NASCOM and NASCOM Foundation, we heard from Ikrir that there's a whole space of the apps, and I think that's where NASCOM is looking to start playing, because I think up until just a few years ago, we really weren't doing very much in the mobile space. So I don't have any great mobile examples, but I wanted to share one very interesting non-mobile example, and that's a phenomenon that we're working in called impact sourcing. In India, it's primarily looking at rural BPOs, so let's use that example of rural BPOs. And it's been an interesting place that we've partnered with Rockefeller Foundation. It's been a global partnership, so there's a lot of different entities that are looking at this globally, particularly with a focus on Africa. So we start with the funders as partners, the knowledge sharers, the folks that are connecting us across borders, in particular in this case. Then we move up to the social entrepreneurs that are out there that are looking to start businesses, oftentimes in the communities that they came from, or picking a community because there's great education that's happening on the ground. But the actual social entrepreneurs, the ones who understand the BPO or BPM business, the ones that know how to get clients, the ones who know how to market this business. Then we've also seen on the ground the need for legitimacy. So that's where the nonprofits start coming into play. Local NGOs introducing those businesses to local institutions, whether they're in the schools or they're the panchayat or whomever, really going hand in hand, going to the community with that company to really give that company some legitimacy so that they can look at expanding that business and impacting that community. And second to last, local government. Obviously, to run a business in any of these locations, dealing with connectivity issues, both digital and power, dealing with all kinds of issues, local government and the contacts within local government, including panchayat, is extremely important, and those relationships getting built in that partnership. And finally, mainstream businesses. Mainstream businesses looking at carving out a portion of their business and giving it to a small rural BPM player and saying that, okay, part of this is part of my social responsibility. I see that it has an impact on community. But the other part is that there's practically zero attrition in that group. There's high quality that's coming from that group. They figured out the security issues. They figured out their connectivity issues. This is good business. So I just wanted to end with that example to say I think there are amazing examples, and I think you've heard them over the last 2 days of collaboration and partnership. But I think the key, and the reason I mentioned this one example, was each of these players took on their special role. One last thing, the mainstream BPM, they're actually going an extra mile. And they're saying, one of the challenges that these very spread out institutions have is middle management training. So and we have extra capacity in our training institutions. Let us bring the mid-managers to our offices. Let us do some of the training, help them grow. They may not be doing business with them yet, but eventually they likely will be. Let them grow and then come and be a partner in business. And so I think that's where I see the potential and the huge opportunities. Thank you.